Okay, so the biggest misconception that people have is that mobile phone can crash an aircraft or an airplane. Now we know that it's not true, and like that seems impossible because our phones are so tiny and we all know that it cannot affect the giant aircraft. They are too big, to be affected by a tiny phone. That's like impossible. Now, but people have that misconception. They still think whenever, cabin crew says us that just switch your phones to airplane mode. But have you ever questioned why is she saying that whenever we get on a plane and then she says us that just, switch your phone to airplane mode. At that time, most of people just, do it without even questioning it, without even wondering why she's saying that. And there's like a misconception again that people think that it could crash the aircraft. That's why maybe she's saying that. And once you will understand it, the whole thing actually makes a lot of sense to you. Now, to date, there is no solid evidence or proof that passenger's phone can crash, a commercial aircraft. There is no solid proof. It's just, a misconception. Now, what is the real reason behind it? That can be the question. The real concern is radio signals. So every smartphone, even you're using it or it's just, sitting in your pocket, is constantly looking for the nearest mobile tower. It does that so that, if someone messages you or calls you, it should already be connected to the, fastest or strongest available signal. And that's completely normal. Now, on the ground, if you're running or you're driving or you're constantly walking, your phone smoothly switches from one tower to another, and that's completely normal. Now, one cannot see that because that's internal thing, and we are not, we cannot see that basically. So every now and then your phone will connect to a new device, and that's completely normal. But the fact that plane is flying at around 900 kilometer per hour, now at that speed, your phone, continuously trying to connect with new towers, detecting new towers, and repeatedly tries to connect more often than it would on the ground, of course. Now imagine a plane carrying maybe 200 to 300 passengers, and every phone does the exactly same thing. That means, hundreds of devices are transmitting radio signals inside the aircraft. Now, the major concern was engineers were concerned about older aircrafts because we all know that newer aircrafts are much more stronger in terms of every single thing, like in terms of technologies, in terms of in handling inconvenience or interference. They have much more advanced technologies. They are much more powerful in terms of everything compared to the older aircraft. Now, all those signals together could potentially create a small amount of radio interference with communication or navigation systems. Now the concern was never about a phone would crash airplane. That was never the concern. It was to avoid any unnecessary inconvenience or interference. That's why airline simply introduced a rule, and that was turn on airplane mode because your phone starts detecting or searching for mobile towers. So that was the only reason. A phone alone could never crash airplane. So it is because of to avoid every tiny risk that can cause inconvenience or interference. Now there is one more majorly asked question, and that is then why Wi-Fi is allowed. So for that you have to understand one thing, and that is mobile network and Wi-Fi are completely different thing. Now we know that airplane mode only turns off your phone's mobile network connection. Wi-Fi is different thing. Instead of instead your phone connecting to the mobile towers on the ground, it connects to Wi-Fi router inside the aircraft. That onboard system then provides internet through satellites or specially designed aviation communication networks. So with airplane mode on, your phone stops. It utterly stops searching for mobile towers or for a signal. So what if you don't turn airplane mode on? So in most cases, nothing will happen because we know that modern aircraft are highly advanced and much better shielded against electronic interference than the older aircraft. However, aviation industry follows a simple rule, and that is even if there is a small chance to remove a tiny risk, remove it. That's why, airplane mode is still required in most of the flights. And before I end this video, I have to understand one thing, and that is airplane mode. It doesn't exist because phones can crash airplanes. It exists to stop our phones from searching or detecting for mobile towers, reducing any possible radio interference with aircraft's communication or navigation system. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching.